Well, you probably know this, but not every church has a pianist like this and a song leader. And, song leaders like you have, I mean, just, the the enthusiasm and just, it was good. Thank you, brothers, for your service today. All right, so let me see if this is on. It is now. Good. All right, so my name, if you weren't here this morning, is Curt Lamansky. My wife, Maria, is not with me today. She can come with me about every other week. When I left my multi-million-dollar salary as a pastor, she, got a job. So she works real close to our house, and sometimes she isn't able to come with me, depending on the length of the trip at all. So anyway, she's not here today, but if you're interested, we have 4 kids. Our oldest is married. They live down in South Carolina, and they better move back. We hope they will. We'll see. And then my son Drew is a senior this year at Faith Baptist Bible College in Ankeny, Iowa. He's studying for the ministry. He's going to go on for a Master of Divinity, and then probably be a pastor and maybe a missionary someday. We'll see. Then our 3rd son works at Johnsonville. So if you like brats, he's the guy who, at least with some of them, he's the guy who stirs it all up. Well, does all the spices and things. So he's 19, just got married this summer, walking with the Lord. We're thankful. All of our kids are walking with the Lord, and he's going to go into realty as well. And then our daughter, so we got to go pink at the end. I love that. And she's a senior in high school this fall. And when she graduates, she'll probably go to Faith Baptist Bible College as well. We'll have to watch and see how God guides her. So that's a little bit about my family. Now let's talk about the mission that the Lord has called us to. So I served right out of grad school at Northland Baptist Bible College. It's way up in northern Wisconsin, almost to the, what I like to say is we didn't live at the end of the earth, but we could see it from our house. Okay, so it's up there. And so we loved it up there. We're there for 17 years. And then that itch to become a pastor, as opposed to, like just a teacher, kept getting a little stronger and stronger. And finally, after about 5 years praying through that, we were like, okay, this is the year. So we left Northland for Sheboygan, Wisconsin, city of about 50,000 people, about 40 minutes north of Milwaukee, an hour south of Green Bay, right on the lake. And we were there for 10 years. Technically, I was there for 9 3/4 years. So the church got me a plaque that says 9 3/4 years. And I didn't get a watch or anything. So I'm like, come on, man. This is not fair. Anyway, so we were there, loved it. We told the church a year before we left that the Lord, he was calling us into missions to give the church time to find the next pastor. The church called a pastor. He got a unanimous vote in March a year ago, so 2 Marches ago. And May of last year was my last month there. And then we started immediately into missions. I'm different from almost all other missionaries in one respect, and that is that because of the 7 points of my job description and that I can do 3 of those right now here, I'm already full-time. So I'm 40-ish, sometimes a little more or less, but I'm about 40 hours a week right now. And then on the weekends, I travel, to churches. So, I don't know, 60, 70 hours a week, whatever it is. But it's not, that's not for to throw a pity party here. It's just, it's really nice, steady, very easy, and wonderful work. We love what we're doing. So, what are we gonna do then when we get our sport finished? All right, so right now I'm already full-time. Once we get our support finished, then we will split the year in half pretty much. 6 months a year, I will continue to do what I do now here in America. The other 6 months a year will be overseas. So there are only 4 of us with our mission who are teaching, and there's none of us other than me who's well, I'm almost an empty nester, who's able to go with his wife to every single one of the locations where our mission is. So literally, Maria and I are going to pack our bags, and we're going to be gone for long stretches of time. We'll be in Siliguri, India, and then Dimapur, India for a couple months each. We'll go to Myanmar. I'll share these. You'll see pictures in a minute. In Myanmar, there's a civil war that's been going on for 3 years. So no, for those of you who understand, we wouldn't go right now. But Lord willing, that'll end soon, and we'll be able to go there as well. And then we'll come back for December, and then in January, we'll go back overseas, where we'll be in the Philippines mostly, not entirely, but mostly at our different spots there. So what I'll do is Maria and I will fly in, we'll stay in a spot for 3 to 4 weeks. I will teach a class. I will mentor the local leaders, okay? When Pacific Rim Mission, that's who I serve with, PRMI, when we start a Bible college or a seminary, we are starting that for them, and we want to eventually, and hopefully not forever far away, turn that over to them completely. Okay, so we don't want to start a school that is reliant forever upon missionaries. I was a board member at a college called Baptist Bible College of the Caribbean. So there were 3 of us Americans. There were 9 islander pastors from different islands in the Caribbean who were also on the board. So the 12 of us. And these 9 men, the school was started in 1956 by Baptist Mid-Missions. 1956, it had been going steady for decades. And these 9 pastors said, we're ready, we're ready, we're ready. So we talked to large Baptist Mission Board educational director, and we said, in the whole history of your mission, how many schools, colleges, or seminaries have you successfully turned over to the nationals? And he did what I'm doing right now. I was thinking. And his response was 0. That every single time the American missionary left, the school closed. So the 3 of us Americans on the board were like, whoa boy. So we didn't have a short off ramp from there. We made it a long off ramp, did training and so on. 2 years after, no, we didn't leave the board, but 2 years after the national leaders had the baton, there was a padlock on the gate, no students, and it's literally a campus that has sat empty now for about 10 years. Okay, no girls or guys in either of the dorms at all, and it's not gonna, at least not likely to ever be restarted. So it's not just we who have learned a lesson. Missions across the board in the 20th century, all kinds of boards have learned this lesson. So what we're doing in Pacific Rim, we're not a large board, we haven't been around for that long, but what we're doing is trying to provide for these dear brothers who are asking for, please come, please, we need help. We want to know theology better. Hermeneutics, like how do you interpret the Bible, the rules of interpretation of Scripture. We could use some help on that. Preaching, proposition, interrogative, transition. Your interrogative has one of the 6 interrogatives in it: who, where, when, what, or why. The transition sentence, you have your main transition sentences has a plural noun in it. Always. If you don't have a plural noun, then you don't understand how to put together a lesson or a sermon. You have a plural noun that does what? It actually describes, then, that plural noun, all of your points. And then your points answer the question of the interrogator. Okay, so I'm sorry, I'm rabbit trailing, shoot the rabbit. Okay, done. But you know what? That is, to me, that's just like so basic. And some of them, maybe most of them, have never even heard that. And so they kept asking, would you start a school? So from the beginning of, Pacific Rim Missions, we've not gone and looked for places to start a Bible college or a seminary. It's when a pastor of a church who is like-minded in doctrine and practice with who we are contacts us. Usually we're traveling in that area, we meet them, and they ask us about that. Then we kind of go to step 2. So doctrine and practice, is this pastor and maybe another network of pastors with him, is he recognized as a leader, in the region? If those things are true, then we look at possibly more. All right, so right now we have 7 locations. I'll show you pictures in a second with maps too. But we have currently, where we're not right now, there are 2 fellowships of pastors, Baptist pastors in Pakistan. They're Pakistani, that are asking us to come and start a seminary. One in Nepal, one in Bangladesh, which we probably are going to move forward with. We've already done one pilot class. They passed it with flying colors. Maybe we'll talk about that. Maybe we won't have time. I don't know. Because Pastor said I went over by 15 minutes this morning. I thought it was till 1:45. It was supposed to be at 30. So he said, stop after 1 hour tonight. No, it's just, all right, teasing. All right, thank you for that one laugh. But seriously, we're in Nepal. We're in, they're asking us to come to Nepal, Bhutan, Vietnam, 4 other places in the Philippines. We can't. Right now, we can't do all of those spots. Maybe someday we'll be able to, but our goal is then when we start a school, immediately that pastor or usually multiple pastors are right from the beginning, like the vice president or the registrar or whatever, both of the board and of the school. So why would you do that? Culture. Our culture's wonderful to us, but in some ways it's really not that great. Why? Because we're a shame culture, not a save face culture. So read up on the differences there. We're all about what? Projects and timelines, and we're all about getting the job done. We don't even realize it because fish don't know what kind of water they swim in, fresh or salt water. We're in that kind of water, and you travel to a different part of the world where people come first. You say, well, they do here, not really. No, it's like time. Our projects and jobs. We got to get our stuff done. Over there, it's people. Come to the Philippines with me. They are the friendliest people that I've ever met. I haven't been all over, but they're wonderful. So, what is late here in America? If you're at a restaurant and you're waiting for somebody, you have 5 flex minutes in America. This is from a missions book that I read a while back. 5 minutes. What's late? 5 to 15 minutes is kind of like uncomfortably late. But if you're more than 15 minutes late, you are like, what's going on? They're trying to call you, unless you text ahead of time and say something happened, flat tire or whatever, okay. But otherwise, you are late. And if it's more than 30 minutes, it's like kind of unforgivably late. Okay, in the Philippines, 5 minutes to us is 30 minutes. 30 minutes is acceptably late. Up to an hour, 2 hours is when, after 2 hours. In the South Pacific, because I've been there a lot, on the islands in the South Pacific, Polynesia, Melanesia, Micronesia, 4 hours is when you hit uncomfortably late. 4, okay? So I've read about missionaries who have made that, the time mistakes. Till you get adjusted, it's different. So that's like a little tiny illustration of the differences in culture. So our schools from the beginning are started with the people group in mind, because the culture in India where we are versus in the Philippines is drastically different. It is not the same, just like we're not the same either. So let's look at these places where we serve. So first, we're in the Philippines. This is where we had our very first seminary. The Philippines is 7,000 islands. They're not all pictured there because some of them are too small, but the Philippines is divided into 3 parts. You see that reddish region, that's the north, about 2,000 islands up there. What's the dominant religion there? Good. I heard someone say it. Roman Catholicism. I was born and raised Catholic. I was not born again until I was 16. So I know Catholicism well. I even went to a Catholic high school for my freshman year. These people are lost. They're very nice, but they're lost. They need Christ. So up on those reddish islands, there are pinpricks where there are a lot of churches, especially the capital of the Philippines, Manila. A lot of churches in Manila. But you get outside of that Manila perimeter, and it like drops off to almost nothing. Now again, there are a few places but where there's some little concentration, but that is a largely unreached area. How about the light blue area? Second largest island in the Philippines after Luzon is Mindanao. Those 2,000 or so islands, what's the main religion there? It's Islam. Why? Because the largest Islamic country on the planet in terms of population is Indonesia, and literally the islands of Mindanao and that chain are kissing cousins with Indonesia. So they're right next to each other. All right, so this is largely Islamic, and the pastors that we serve have told me never go to Mindanao without us. Just don't do it. It's too dangerous for you by yourself to go. We'll help you navigate. And then there's the Visayan Islands, those green central islands. So I've done, as much question asking and research as I can, and there's just nothing that I've found, and I've asked people, and they don't know either, of any history of Christianity in the Philippines. So I want that. Somebody needs to write it. It won't be me. Somebody needs to write that. Well, the first, and I could be wrong on this, okay? But from what I've put together, the gospel, the genuine true gospel, did not arrive in the Philippines until exactly the year 1900. It was American Baptist Convention missionaries. Now, I realize they're liberal today, but they weren't then. So 125 years ago, they landed on Panay Island. I realize not everyone can read Panay. So landed here in the capital, Iloilo. Since that time, the gospel is a powerful reality, and there are now churches covering this entire island. There's nowhere you can go on this island and not be able to find a good church, okay? And maybe there's one little spot, right? Maybe some corner or nook, but basically churches everywhere. So somewhere in the early 1900s, Filipino pastors who had been saved maybe now 20 years, whatever, came over to Negros Island. That's where we are. It's shaped like a boot, but it kicks the opposite direction of Italy. All right, so we're here up in the north, down in the south, on the coast, in the center, and then up in the mountains in the center. All right, and then there is Cebu. So these 3 islands, if you had a bullseye and threw a dart like right in the center, it's these 3 islands. These are the 3 islands where the gospel is. On Negros Island where we serve, there is no city that you can go to that does not have a bevy of good options for churches. There isn't even a village that I'm aware of anymore that does not have a Baptist church that preaches the gospel. It's true. I'm not exact, maybe sometimes evangelistically speaking, I'm not. This is true. There are slightly more than 1,000 Baptist churches just on the western half of the island. There are also some Bible churches that are solid too. And then I don't know how many are on the eastern side. The different languages spoken on the eastern side of the island versus the western. And then Cebu, same thing. Lots of churches. So pastors and churches from this area know that they are especially blessed, and they are now sending out church planters from their islands to other islands, and I've interacted with and done some things with some of them as well on other places. Okay, so a number of years ago, I got a call from one of my former students. His name is Dr. Tim Valiente. A few of you in here know him, and his wife, Sarah Muth, now Valiente. And he said, Curt, would you help us? We've been asked repeatedly to start a seminary here in the Philippines. There are 4 Bible colleges on Negros. We estimate that when a man graduates from the college, that he has the equivalent of what the Dursos had at the end of their freshman year. So the educational equivalent, they may have a college degree, but it is not the same thing as saying like Faith Baptist Bible College or Appalachian or whichever one you choose, Pensacola. It's not the same level. And these pastors know that. They're aware of that. And this is why they're asking, would you please come? We need additional help. So I'm like, okay, sure. So Tim calls me, says, would you help us write the curriculum? I said, of course. I'd love to do that. I was the dean at Northland, so I have a lot of administrative experience as well, and am familiar with the writing of curriculum and all those kinds of things. So I said, I'll do that. I did. They took what I did, Mark Kittrell, our president, as well as Tim, and we're still using that now, 6 years later. We just had our first graduating class. After 6 years, 7 men graduated. Okay, all of them with a Master of Arts. All of them are going to continue on for a Master of Divinity. So the Master of Arts is like 36 hours. The Master of Divinity is 96. That's a lot of hours. So they're going to keep on. Can I encourage you with this? One of those pastors, their church has 900 people. Now, one of the pastors, in fact, he's the vice president of our board for the 4 seminaries, Pastor Juno Gilia. You'll see a picture in a minute of him. Their church has 500. I've preached in their church. I mean, it's so amazing to see. In fact, there he is right there. In the light blue shirt to my left in the picture is Pastor Juno Gile. So we have that first location. Maybe I'll go back. First location here is on the coast. So this is literally on the ocean. Now don't think, whoa, it's going to be great to go there and hang out. Believe me, that building is moldy and yeah. All right, but this was our first location. We have camp going on here right now. We've had camp here for a long time. We had over 3,000 campers last year, and 311 young people made a profession of faith. We'll have over 3,000 campers this year. We scholarship the unsaved. We tell the churches we work with, tell your kids in your youth group to invite their friends who are unsaved, maybe from the village or school or something like that. Tell them they can come free. So we had 1,000 scholarshiped unbelieving teens who have come or are about to come to our camp this summer. So I don't know how many, I haven't heard any numbers yet, how many have made a profession of faith and all that, but I'm sure there'll be many. And then they go home to that same village or that city, and then that youth group and that, if it's a large enough church, that youth pastor, they're working with that teen and then with that family. It's just amazing, right? All right, so we have camp and a seminary here. We're also in the north. This is the city of Bacolod. It's the capital city of Negros Island. This is 600,000 people at night, 1 million people during the day. It's a sprawlingly huge city. People don't live in high rises. They live in like bamboo huts. I'm not exaggerating. It's true. About 80% of them. So that means a lot of sprawl. So there are just so many people here. And consequently, because almost everyone walks, there are also a lot of churches here. About 250 Baptist churches like yours just in this one city. So I don't know of very many places in America. There probably are a few, but I don't know of many that have the same concentration of born-again believers that they do here in America. Okay, so here's a picture of me teaching a class. In case you're wondering, we don't have ladies in our seminary, but they have a Bible college here, Maranatha Baptist Bible College. And so, depending on what class it is, like the book of James, which I was teaching, they are allowed to audit. So, but anyway, we had 50 students, not all of them are in the picture, that took this class. We then got request after request from Pastor Marjun Decatoria, superb pastor leader, way down in the south. He's like, brothers, you gotta come down here and open a seminary for us, please. He kept saying, please. And we're like, but Hinoba'an is how you pronounce that. Hinoba'an is a small city. It's a city, but it's not large like many of the others on the side. Over 6 million people who live on this island. So it's double the size of population-wise of Kansas. So, he's just like, it's 4.5 hours. None of us have even cars. We'd have to rent a bus to bring would you please come down? And we're like, okay. So we said, all right. He suggested, do a pilot class. Well, just see, I'll prove to you. We'll have a lot of men there. There were 50 pastors who came to the very first class that we offered. Now it would be about 4 years ago. And most of these guys walked 1, 2, even 3 days out of the jungle-covered mountains on paths that, unless you had like a dirt bike, I don't even think you could get up or down them. Like a four-wheeler wouldn't make it. You'd have to be a good dirt bike rider to do it. Basically, you can only traverse this on foot. So these guys, they buy rice from the flatlands on the coast. They raise vegetables in their gardens. Most of their protein comes from hunting snakes. Okay, so they hunt the snakes, skin them. I'm told it's good. I don't know. I'm looking forward to trying it. So anyway, this is Hinoba'an. We have a fourth location that just opened in the fall. I actually don't have a slide of it, but it's in La Carlota, which is in the center of the island, but not on the coast. It's up in the mountains. Okay, so those 4 spots. Total across all 7 of our schools last year, we had 143 students, all men. Okay, we're not against, just to be careful here, we're not against educating ladies, okay? Absolutely not. Our resources are very limited, so we are not gonna, go that route, especially when you have dormitories. Just having 1 dormitory for men is enough, right? So this is the Philippines. We're also in Myanmar. Now I'd rather be transparent, totally honest with you. This is the school where we'll see what's going to happen. Why do I say that? Well, we're in Yangon. Used to be called Rangoon, Burma, now Yangon, Myanmar. This is not the capital, but it's the largest city in Myanmar. So there's been a civil war going on for 3 years, and our students are both from the rebel side and but they get along great. But what they can't do is leave the perimeter of our building. So we have a very small building here in the city. They don't leave this, at least not during the day, because military trucks patrol. And if they see a young man of fighting age walking down the street, they're liable to stop the truck. A couple soldiers hop out, grab that guy, throw him in the back, take him to base, give him camo, slap a gun in his hand, and he's in the army. Well, what if he's from the rebel regions? Then it's even like doubly hard, because he's going to be fighting maybe even his own tribe. So we'll see what happens. We had 11 students a couple years ago. One of our students walked all the way from here clear over to India, over the mountains. And you'll see a picture of that spot too in a second. And then, so we were down to 8. And we were like, we graduated 2 this year, and it went down to 8, and we hadn't had a new student for 2 years. But this year, this fall, it looks like we're going to have 3 or 4 new students. So we'll see what's going to happen. Hopefully, this will keep going. It's the only one of our schools that is not doing well in terms of numbers. It's doing well otherwise. And then India. All right, so India, I'll do this kind of quickly. India, south of that line, is Christian, predominantly Christian. Okay, so G.S. Nair, who your church supports, is a friend of mine. He's been to my house. I've driven around and so on. Okay, I love him. There's G.S. Nair. There's Dr. Sam Day. There's the Charians. There are dozens, and this is great and it's needed. There are dozens of solid Bible colleges. Some of them also have seminaries with them in South India. I'm not saying that another one doesn't need to be started somewhere, but if you live in South India, you can get to a really solid college. Okay, north of that line is predominantly Hindu. Okay, and the Hindus, for the most part, don't tolerate, or don't like at least, the Christians. So there's very little up there in terms of churches and in terms of educational options for like Bible college or seminary for a man who wants to do that. All right, this is 1.4 billion people. This is the largest country on the planet. China's shrinking so rapidly, it's like dying. Germany, Italy, Spain, Japan, China, demographically, they're absolute train wrecks. They're all like this. Instead of for every one older person, you have 2 in the next generation, then 4, and then 8. They're the opposite. They sell, I don't know what the percentage is, but far more adult diapers in Japan than they do baby diapers. It's true, okay? So we could talk about demographics all day. Let's not go there. But it is important at least to mention it in terms of India. Why? Because they're going to peak at 1.7 billion. They've stopped having as many babies, so they're going to shrink. But this is the largest country on the planet. The needs here are massive, especially in the north where the Hindus dominate. And on the edges, so right up here and then right here where the Muslims are. Okay, so the second largest country on earth in terms of Muslims, India, after Indonesia. You may not have known that. I didn't know that until I started getting into this. So, and then there's this little squirt of land that most people don't even know is there. So Nepal's here, Bhutan's here, Myanmar's here, and then Bangladesh. So in the middle of those 4 countries actually is India. Now, this is some pretty amazing stuff. So, the country on earth that has the highest amount of Baptist believers per capita is U.S. Second highest, India. Third highest, Myanmar. Why? Missionaries. Adoniram Judson, first foreign missionary, went to Burma, now Myanmar. So there are Baptist churches all over the place in Myanmar. Same deal with South India and then other, certain pockets of India. But I've got to tell you something special about where we are. So we're in a region called the Hill Country, and we work with 2 tribes. Understand there are 700 languages, give or take, in India. 700. So all education, I'm pretty pumped about this, needs to be done in English. That's what they tell us. So all education in India and in the Philippines, because there are 120 to 180 languages, depending on how you define language versus dialect, in the Philippines. So they want all education in English in both of those countries. And I'm kind of like, yeah, all right, good deal. In Myanmar, we do have to be translated. But so here in this part of India is where we are. Nagaland, we're in Dimapur. Couple 100,000 people, not 300,000, about right there. So we're in Nagaland. We work with the Naga tribe and the Ao tribe, spelled A-O. In fact, spelled there for you. We work with those 2 tribes. Now, this, I'm pretty sure this will shock you. I have this from like 5 sources, so this is corroborated. On planet Earth, where do you have the highest concentration of born-again believers? The Naga tribe. Estimated 50%, or 300 out of the 600,000 people who are here know the Lord as Savior. What if that were the case in the United States? What would our country be like? Oh man, we did a translation of the Bible into the Nokta dialect of the Naga language. First, they've never had the Bible, so we paid to get that done. 3,000 copies is the first run that we just did this last October. The regional news. We're talking gals in dresses and men in three, suits, ties, with the reporters with the cameras from the big stations. They're there for 15 minutes covering the march of all the Christians from the publishing house where the Bibles were printed to the church where the pastors were getting together, and a lot of others too, getting together to pray and thank the Lord for that Bible. Do you think the translation of a Bible would get, regional coverage across all of Kansas and, Oklahoma and Texas? No. Not 15 minutes especially, no. All right, it did there because of the concentration of Christians. So we think we're like the only missionary sending country on earth. They are going to outstrip us, pass us up so fast. It's already happening. I preached in a church in the Philippines. This is one mission conference 2 years ago in November. There were 500 people in the church and then 200 guests. Of those, 100 were from the island. Most of them were like Christian school teachers or Bible college teachers. The other 100 were all missionaries. One church, one mission conference, 100 missionary guests. Guess who was the only white American? All those other 99, that may not have been exactly 100, but basically 100, they were all Filipino. They have sent 100 Filipino missionaries. I met missionaries from the Philippines to Africa, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Indonesia. I could go on. I mean, it was like, wow. So, it's kind of eye-opening, like, okay, this is good. We're not the only ones anymore. And I could, wax eloquent about those things. But I need to wrap up here. So that's our dormitory. We rent this. We don't have enough money to build a building here yet. We would like to do it. It would save money, significant amount of rent money. Plus, if we had a plot of land, then our students could grow their own food. So, down the road, we have another building project we want to do before this one in the Philippines, but this is definitely on the radar. That's our regional director, Dr. Tia Longkumer, amazing brother and pastor and the director of our school. And then finally, Siliguri, India. Siliguri is 1.2 million people. It's a small city. In India. It's right here. So it's closer to Nepal, Bhutan, and Bangladesh, actually, than the main part of India. We have 14 men who are studying there currently. That's our building there. Basically just a corrugated tin shack. But these 14 men either already are pastors currently or want to be, and all but one of them is either already or is going to be in Nepal or Bhutan. Now, maybe that doesn't mean a lot to you, but it's illegal to witness in Nepal. Even a Nepalese guy gets caught, he faces a fine that's larger than he could ever afford to pay in his whole life, plus potential prison time. Bhutan is even worse. The king and queen are Buddhist, and they hate Christianity. And anytime they sniff it out, they try to stomp on it. So 180 students probably this fall, okay? These men, almost all of them, they're all planning to be. Maybe not all of them will make it, but most of them already are or want to be pastors, missionaries, or church planners. Church planner is planning a church within your own country, missionary outside of your country. So, there is a lot that God has already done and is continuing to do. So I'm going to conclude with this. I was talking with the Gorts last night over at their place, about 3 hours, and one of the things that they were asking a lot of questions, including, hey, what needs do you guys have, and so on. And I'm not going to share any personal needs that I have as an individual, but he encouraged me to share 2 needs that we have currently. So here's one of them. I right now have about 3,000 volumes, books, sorted through serious heavy-duty books that were donated to our mission by Dr. Roy Beecham of Central Baptist Theological Seminary. So I've been friends with Roy for a lot of years. And he's like, Curt, I'm retiring next year. I want my books to go to a good cause. No one wants books anymore. They literally don't. It's like, what? That's all electronic. I said, whoo, we do. We don't have hardly anything in the Philippines or India or Myanmar in terms of a library. And he said, well, they're yours if you want them. So I spent like 3 days going over there, sorting through. I didn't keep everything because it's expensive to ship things over to the Philippines. So I didn't keep everything, but I kept 3,000 volumes. These are solid core. Pastor Juno Gilia at Maranatha Baptist Church in Bacolod is already working on a plan on where to house them. There's a mezzanine area in their large facility. So they'll be up there for now. But it's going to cost, I'm estimating about $7,000 to ship those books over. There's one other need that we have, and I don't have like a dollar amount for it, but we do eventually need to build a building in Bacolod. We don't want to have a large one. We want something that's going to house 100 students on the main floor, house the Filipino director of our seminary on the second floor, and then have either 1 or 2 guest apartments. That's not a lot of square footage. So I don't know, 150,000 US? I'm just tossing out a number, I don't know. But would you pray for those things, okay? Pray that we'll be able to get the money to ship those books over and then to build that building. Well, I hope that tonight has been an encouragement to you. We're not the only Christians out there. 60% of born-again Christianity lives outside the West now, and they are picking up the slack that we're starting to leave because we're sending out fewer and fewer missionaries from America. They're sending out more and more. And they do a phenomenal job, especially when they're working with people of their own language and culture. Better than I can do. A lot better. So, Pastor Gort, you want to take over here?
I'm going to ask you to stay. I have 2 questions, and I want everybody here, because I don't think everybody's going to make it to the fellowship. First of all, can you tell me about what you're wearing? You asked to wear this, you never mentioned. I was hoping you would.
This is a Filipino barong. It's the dress shirt. The Filipinos are way smarter than we Americans. They do not wear ties and coats. I'm joking. But seriously, in that climate, it's so hot. This is what a pastor wears on Sunday morning. So I have 5 of these, and I just rotate them.
So I appreciate you sharing that. Secondly, as you think towards developing men for ministry, where is the best place to start? I think I know the answer, but where would you say for Calvary Baptist Church, if we were going to say we want to get serious about developing men, where would you say we need to start?
So, what is the job of the pastors of the church? It's Ephesians chapter 4, 11 and 12. It is equipping the church to do the work of the ministry. So your church should be doing the work of the ministry led by these pastors and, a few others who serve in leadership roles. But these men should not be, and their wives and so forth, should not be doing the bulk of the work. They're training you through the preaching and discipleship to do the work of the ministry. So the next, the only other verse that I'll mention, just for sake of time, is 2 Timothy 2:2, which is find faithful men. So Pastor Gort and Pastor John's job is to find faithful men who they will then dump their lives into, so that those men, and we'll add women too, ladies working with ladies, but training up those people who love the Lord and are walking with the Lord so that they can further the ministry more than 3 or 4 or 5 people can. There's no way 3 or 4 or 5 people can do it all. But when you train the faithful, they then can, when you get 20 or 30 who are really, really committed, we realize people are busy and so forth. Can't just dump the whole week in it, but when they're committed, a lot more can happen. Oh, I'd like to say more, but I probably shouldn't.
Well, you'll get more time. Please seek him out. Talk to him at the fellowship tonight. If you know American history, you know that there was a time when we sent our students back to the recognized English schools, and that became a problem. We need to train them in America, in the schools that we had that England couldn't take away. Fascinating history. You can read all about Pennsylvania and the rise of the Baptists and what happened in there. And I encourage you to check out our own library on Baptist history, that kind of stuff. We're at a time where Calvary Baptist Church, we want to do that again. 20 years down the road, the seminary in the Philippines, by God's grace, will be run entirely by those who are in the Philippines. Imagine 20 years down the road. The newest seminary in the United States of America is in Derby, Kansas, because faithful men are raising up to go out and pastor the hundreds and hundreds of churches in America who currently do not have pastors. This is a hope and a vision of mine, and I hope it's a hope and a vision that you guys will start to get just a glimpse of what can happen when we start praying, Lord, raise up not a harvest just for around the world, but raise up a harvest here in America. Let us stand, we will pray, and then we are going to move down to fellowship. When we are down at fellowship, there may be instructions, so I don't know what those are, but it is a time to express our appreciation to the Dursos for their faithful ministry. So please take the time to do that. Take the time to connect with Dr. Lamansky. Enjoy the pie and time with one another. Let us pray. Father God, we come before you to say thank you. Thank you for the fact that the work of the ministry continues. To hear there are missionaries who are going out, taking their lives into serious danger for the cause of the gospel of Christ. We rejoice. Lord, we rejoice that John has a burden and a desire to preach. We rejoice in that same desire and burden as it was raised up in Dr. Lamansky, and he left teaching at a university to go and to pastor Emmanuel Baptist Church, Emmanuel Bible Church in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Father, we thank you that you have led him on to this new ministry, and we ask that you would bless him. We ask that you would bless John and Sarah, that you would bless Hudson and Lily and Amari, and that, Lord, they would feel appreciated for the faithful service that they've rendered to your name and to Calvary Baptist Church these last years. And Lord, may you encourage their hearts. May you build them up. And as they seek your will and as they seek safety in driving, may you protect them when that time goes to leave and to arrive. And Lord, may you bless them in their service. We ask that you would be with Nottingham Baptist Church, that you would prep them well to receive John and Sarah with open arms, with loving hearts, and with an eagerness to hear from 1 Corinthians as John begins preaching from that book. We pray these things in Jesus' blessed name. Amen.